welcome to Long Branch. It is my pleasure to welcome everybody to some of the best beaches in the state of New Jersey. And for those of you who are concerned about how we've done this summer with a big weekend left, we are on the verge of having our best summer ever. This was a year on Memorial Day where the governor kicked off the summer with a ribbon cutting that stretched from north of here all the way south. And when we had a cake from Cake Boss, we promised everybody we'd get them on and off the beach safely. And the people of New Jersey have done their part, and they've come, they've enjoyed, they've spent money, and they've had just a great time. Maybe we needed summer this year more than ever after the winter we had, but we showed them that New Jersey is never down, will never give up, and we're just going to get better and better and better. And it is my pleasure, a couple days early to kick off what's going to be a great Labor Day weekend with packed beaches and restaurants and businesses, and most importantly, people just knowing that the Jersey Shore is here forever. It is my pleasure to introduce the great governor of the state of New Jersey, Governor Chris Christie.
This is like a high school reunion for me back there. There are more people from Livingston back there than I knew what to do with. Adam, thank you so much for the introduction. When Sandy hit, you know, we had to form a partnership with the mayors and the freeholders in the affected towns and counties, because nobody could try to redo what needed to be done on our own. And I have to tell you something, there hadn't been a better mayor to work with in the entire Jersey Shore area than the mayor of Long Branch. He is a good friend. He has done a great job here in Long Branch. Adam, thank you. And, you know, I was telling some of the young girls down on the beach who were asking me how I was doing. I said, you know, if you want in the future to get a good job, run for governor, because this is what passes for working the last week of August. I'm working right now. And so coming here, I was down in Wildwood this morning. Things look great down there. And things look even better up here in Long Branch. And I'm so glad to hear from Adam that they're on their way to a record-breaking summer. You know, it changes from town to town, but obviously you look around here in Long Branch at what they've done and the great, beautiful beach they have, the wonderful restaurants and shops and stores that they have right within walking distance for everybody. This is a great place to come to the Jersey Shore and enjoy yourself. It's a great spot here in Monmouth County, and everybody's worked together really well to help make this contribute to the $40 billion industry that tourism is here in New Jersey. And we know this supports about 500,000 jobs in our state. So it's not only important for the tourists who come here, it's important for people who live here and help to make their living here on the Jersey Shore. I'll have Commissioner Martin here. He's going to speak right after me. But he and his team at the DEP have led an extraordinary effort to make sure of two things for this summer: that the water was clean and the beaches are clean and ready. And working with the municipalities, we've done that. We haven't had one closure this summer for unsafe water. Now imagine how incredible that is, given what we went through in October. And one of the ways that we did it was that the DEP oversaw the removal of 96,000 cubic yards of debris from New Jersey's waterways. Since the storm in October to Memorial Day, 96,000 cubic yards of debris have been removed from New Jersey's waterways to make them safe to swim in and boat for the summer. We've taken out 200 vessels from the waterways that were sunken during Sandy, and we've scanned now 195,000 underwater acres to find more debris and remove it where appropriate. We've cleaned up 275 marinas so that those marinas could operate for the boaters and they could enjoy their boats and the waterways we have here in New Jersey. And as a result, the Jersey Shore was open this summer. And I was saying to someone earlier today that there's a lot of folks who, when we were walking around here in November, when I came in November, sat with Adam and business owners here in this town, you know, people were wondering whether we were going to have a summer. We were going to have a summer where people like all of you are going to be able to come, gather here, go on the beach, enjoy it, enjoy the shops and the stores. it was up in the air. I always believed we were going to be able to get it done. But with the 2013 summer season now almost over, 99.7% of our beaches in the state were open with clean water and a safe place for you to put your blanket or your chair to play volleyball or any other game you wanted to play on the beach with your family. You know, we had one of the best track records before Sandy for clean water on our beaches, and we've only improved upon it since then. And when you think about it, beside the stores and the shops and the restaurants, the thing you really want the most is to have clean water to swim in and a clean beach to sit on and read your book, play with your family, just soak in the sun a little bit and try to take a deep breath from all the things that trouble us every day. Let's come out here and feel this breeze coming at us off the ocean, to feel the sun coming down on us, to feel how lucky we are to live in a state that has 127 miles of the most beautiful beaches anywhere in America. And while a lot of people may have thought that wasn't going to be possible to be done, last November we've gotten it done. And let me be clear about this. It doesn't mean that everything's perfect. And it doesn't mean that everything's fixed. And when I say we're stronger than the storm, it means that we're stronger than the storm. Not that everything is fixed and everything is perfect, but that it will get that way. And for the people who aren't back in their homes yet, who don't have their businesses reopened yet, we haven't forgotten about you, and we're never going to give up on you. This is my mission. My mission as governor is to make sure that every person who was affected by Sandy gets their life back to normal. But I told you back in November I was probably going to be a 2-year proposition. We had 365,000 homes substantially damaged or destroyed. 365,000. You're not going to rebuild those in 8 months, everybody. Even if you had every builder in America here, you wouldn't be able to rebuild all that in 8 months. So we're going to continue to work together and work hard. But we got to be able to chew gum and walk at the same time. You know, we have to be able to continue to focus on those folks who need our help still, but also celebrate the success that we see all around us and make sure people know that they need to come back here and frequent these big beaches and patronize these businesses and support these families who make this home. And so this week, I have a very tough assignment. I know all of you are concerned about me because I was in Wildwood. Today now I'm in Long Branch, and tomorrow I'll be in Cape May. I'm going to be in Point Pleasant, Seaside Heights, and Long Beach Island. All week I'm going to be working like this. I'm going to try to bear up as best I can, but I know you'll all be praying for me. It's all my time at the Jersey Shore this week, but we got to let people know the Jersey Shore is back. And it's doing well, and it's because of all of you and the effort that we did together. We should be proud of what we've been able to do, even though we know we have more work to do. I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of the people in New Jersey for doing what we've done for the last 9 months. I'm going to introduce the Commissioner of the DP for some remarks, and then I'm going to come back, and there's some members of the press here who want to ask me some questions, so I'll take a few of those. But I want to let you know that the folks at DEP under Bob's leadership worked on everything from getting wastewater treatment plants and water treatment plants back up immediately after Sandy so we could have clean water to drink and to bathe in. Bob's folks made sure that these beaches, as I told you, were clean and the water was clean, the waterways were cleared. He's working on helping the demolition of homes that need to be taken down and making sure that our environment is treated well and safely in the process as we recover from this storm. There probably hasn't been anybody in my cabinet who's had a tougher job in the aftermath of Sandy than the person who's there that's supposed to be protecting the environment on behalf of the 8.8 million people in this state who enjoy it, and all of the millions of visitors that we have come here every year who enjoy the beautiful environment of the Jersey Shore. So for a few remarks, I want to introduce the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection, my friend and the guy who's really helped us make a difference here in the last 9 months, Commissioner Bob Martin.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you, Mayor Snyder, for your leadership before, after, and during the storm. You've done a great job, so thank you. We worked very closely with you on a lot of things. After Superstorm Sandy, the Governor made it a priority, made it crystal clear to me and my team that clean water and clean beaches were a priority for the summer of 2013, that anything other than that would be unacceptable. To achieve that, we worked hard to enhance the overall quality monitoring of beaches overall for the 230 coastal beaches that the state has. We continued aerial surveillance all through the summer, 6 days a week, plus additional surveillance for areas where we thought additional debris had washed or was washing up overall. We expanded our coordination with the towns, with the lifeguards, with the Department of Health in each of the counties and county coordination to make sure we're all working together as a major team to make sure things happen. A lot of the lifeguards and a lot of departments have helped double up their efforts, and Department of Public Works double up their efforts to make sure beaches were checked in the morning, in the afternoons, and in the evenings to make sure we continue to clean it up overall. And again, and as the Governor mentioned already, we've had a perfect record this summer. Very happy, as the Governor reported as well, that we had no beach closings for water quality issues at all this summer, which is an amazing record. Overall, we've worked very clear to clean the debris out of the ocean water in the back bay areas of the state. We estimate that 98% of the debris that was in the water put in by Sandy has been removed at this point in time, and we've removed over 200,000 cubic yards of sand and sediment from the waterways for boating and fishermen across the state. Again, another major achievement overall. So in closing, again, we're expecting we've had a beautiful summer overall. We expect another beautiful weekend coming forward. And again, we've had a major success on having clean beaches, clean water. And again, I'll invite everyone to come out for Labor Day to the beautiful Jersey Shore. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm just taking some questions from the press, a few brief questions before I start walking around and saying hello to some more folks. So can't turn this into a full-scale town hall meeting, so we'll just do some questions from the press. Elise.
Are there areas of the shore that you are particularly concerned about now that we're really in hurricane season?
You know, I'm concerned about the same ones that were most badly damaged during the storm, Elise, because they still don't have the dune systems that will keep them protected. And so places like Ortley Beach and Maniloking and Bayhead and Brick, those towns, Seabright, who still don't have the protective systems that they need, I'm particularly concerned about. Now, I never thought they'd have them in place by this hurricane season, but I think by next year we will have them in place if we get the 1,100 people along this coastline who have yet to give easements to be able to build these dunes, to give those easements. Now, you know, this is the ultimate act of selfishness. You know, we know what happens in towns where you don't have the dunes. We saw it. And these people won't give easements because they don't want their views blocked. Well, I just don't think that's the way you treat your neighbors. You want to see your view, go up to the second floor and look out the second floor window, right? And don't worry about your view. I heard one woman on a video say, well, it's not that I can't see the water anymore, it's that I can't see the waves breaking onto the beach. And for that, we're supposed to put at risk the lives and the property of millions of New Jerseyans. Not on my watch. That's not what we're going to do. And we have the worst example of this in actually someone who holds a state office. Assemblyman John McKeon from West Orange has a home in Brick. He has still refused to give his easement. Now, how are we supposed to stand up as state officials and say that everybody should sacrifice that little strip of land to build a high dune to protect our shore towns, when a person who is supposed to be an environmentalist, who's supposed to be somebody who cares, due to his position as a member of the state assembly, about the whole state, and yet he won't give the easement? I can only conclude he won't give it out of greed. He's looking for money. And it's just wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And he needs to set an example. Sign your easement today, Assemblyman. Sign your easement today and set an example for the other 1,100 folks who need to sign those easements as well. The Army Corps of Engineers is ready to work on all 127 miles of our shoreline and build a dune system that the federal government is willing to pay for and maintain from Cape May to Sandy Hook. And there is no reason why that shouldn't be done. And 1,100 people who are property owners along the beach should not be able to hold up the progress of 8.8 million New Jerseyans, most especially John McKeon, an assemblyman who's putting his own financial interests ahead of the interests of the people that he's supposed to be serving. So, Elise, I'm concerned about getting that done. We get that done, we see the towns that had the right type of protection, they did very, very well, even in the worst storm that the state's ever seen. So let's get to work now, and let's get these easements done, and we'll do what we need to do. Matt?
Off topic, Governor?
Yeah.
On Supreme Court justices, in recent weeks, Democratic lawmakers have indicated that they would support your most recent nominee in the High Court based off of the story that was floating around caucus that he's turned down a position has. So, two quick things. You know, what's your thought on Democratic lawmakers like Ray last night saying that they were willing to support your most recent nominee, and also can you talk about the story that the nominee was turned down for position of council and he was supposedly offered it just as well?
Well, first of all, as to Democrats supporting Justice Fernandez-Vina, I'm gratified that they're willing to do that, and I hope they get to his confirmation quickly. They've confirmed it twice now unanimously for his state on the state court bench, the Superior Court, and he is a well-deserving person to sit on the New Jersey Supreme Court. So I hope they move quickly to do that. I can tell you this, I never offered a Supreme Court seat to Judge Fernandez-Vina before 2 weeks ago. So I don't know where that story comes from, but I never offered him a job.
Governor, I wanted to ask that, have you, your office, or any other office kept tally of the various council businesses are doing, and also the first that are coming in the person involved?
Well, it's very hard to be able to do that. You know, we're working on, as we get to the end of the summer, tallying things like sales tax revenue from each municipality as an indicator, I guess, compared to past years. And we're also counting on mayors to be able to tell us those things. It's not like the state keeps those statistics beyond the sales tax statistics. And but what I can tell you is that if you go up and down the shore, we know that most towns have not been as lucky as Long Branch. You know, the mayor says they're going to have as good or better summer than they've ever had. There's not going to be a lot of towns that are going to be able to say that. Now, there's some that are going to say they were just as good or just down a little, some that are down significantly. And it really varies, as I said, from town to town. So we'll put out some statistics at the end of the season regarding sales tax revenue and some things that are generalized indicators. But it's not like we're standing at the Long Branch line with a counter and how many people come in and where you're from. That's not the way we do it. But we'll be able to get some sense of it as we get out to the end of the season. David?
Governor, you had mentioned in your remarks that the water and the beach quality is cleaner than it was before Sandy. Somebody was telling me here locally they saw a pod of dolphins close to the shore, which indicates very clean water. Could you review for us in general terms, you know, what is the DEP doing in terms of monitoring, checking this stuff, the aerial surveillance and so forth?
I'm going to let the DEP commissioner do it because he's the guy who's in charge of it, so I'll let him do it specifically.
I mean, all through the year prior to, right after Superstorm Sandy, we started monitoring water all along the coast and kept that monitoring up in January, February, March. And then as the summer comes along, we do a weekly monitoring overall of water quality for all 230 coastal beaches. And then we do aerial surveillance 6 days a week where we do the flyovers constantly to monitor the beaches. And then also, as I mentioned earlier in my remarks, we worked with all the towns, both departments of health, the lifeguards, Department of Public Works. The towns were fabulous in stepping up the reviews of the beaches early in the morning, in the afternoons, and in the evenings to identify anything that they saw either in the water or issues we need to address. So again, a very coordinated effort, and it paid off at the end of the day. Thank you.
At the start of the rebuilding process some months ago, you talked about the importance of making sure that politics stayed out of the Sandy rebuild. I'm wondering if you've seen the video from your opponent in this year's election, and if you have a response to Sandy, specifically the Stronger Than the Storm campaign as it relates to getting people back in their homes, that entering the political arena. I wonder if you've seen it in the video.
Well, first of all, I saw the video and I feel for the family. And I feel for every family that's not back yet. Now, I know most of the concerns they expressed in the video were about insurance proceeds they didn't get, and that's a federal program from the National Flood Insurance Program that we have no jurisdiction over, nor can we do anything about. And I'm as frustrated as they are that the flood insurance program is not paid in the way that I think they should be paying. We've expressed that to people at FEMA and other folks in the federal government, and we spent a lot of time fighting on behalf of citizens to try to get them more money from their flood insurance. The Stronger Than the Storm campaign was never meant to get people back in their homes. And I don't know why, my opponent can't understand that. It was about getting people back to the shore to use the businesses. People were etching on a boardwalk and jumping into the ocean and going to bakeries and stores. You didn't see anybody hammering nails into a house. The Stronger Than the Storm campaign was about getting people back to the Jersey Shore to frequent the businesses. And I have absolutely no doubt that that helped. And if you talk to any of these mayors, they'll tell you that the advertising campaign helped to increase tourism here, to let people know that we were reopened and ready for business. And also, you saw some of the recent polling. 80% of the people in New Jersey said they've seen the Stronger Than the Storm campaign. In fact, I get plenty of people come to me and say, "Stop the damn song, stop it! It's killing me already." You know, I hear it in my head constantly. If you think you do, you can imagine how I feel. But that's the hallmark of an effective advertising campaign. Just about the moment when people become sick of it, you know they get it, right? And so I think it's unfortunate that my opponent wants to politicize the efforts that we've made here to try to rebuild it and somehow build political capital out of it. I think that's unfortunate, but it's not unexpected. And I'm just going to continue to do my job. My job is to be the governor of this state and to rebuild this state better than it was before. And I'm not going to allow any of those type of things to affect the way I conduct myself or the decisions that I make every day. Marianne?
Governor, on easements again, some mayors have said they know they'll probably have to go to court for some condemnation procedures, but they're also looking to the state because they say they can't afford it. Is the state going to take any lead role in any of this for
Sure.
helping the towns get?
Yeah, any town that wants us to take the lead role, we're willing to take the lead role. We've told every town that.
In what way, though?
We'll run the condemnations. They won't have any responsibility for it.
Has anyone come to you?
Some have taken us up on it, yeah. And some, but we're not yet moving to condemnation, Marianne, because we're still trying to do this in a way without having to move to eminent domain to get the easements. We're still trying to work with people in a cooperative way to convince them to do it. But if we have to move towards condemnation, we will, and the state will take responsibility for any town's condemnations that asks us to do it. And the State Attorney General's office will run that operation. They're already prepared to go. The head of the Division of Law, Chris Perino, and his staff is ready to go. So, and every one of those towns has been communicated to and knows that if they have a desire to have us run it for them, we will. And also, we've told them that regardless of whether they want us to or not, we're going to monitor it to make sure that it's done effectively and efficiently, and provide any backup support that we can give to the towns who want to run it on their own. So yeah, we're definitely ready to do that. Peter?
Governor, if you could look into next summer, you mentioned dunes. What are the kinds of things need to happen to convince people who might have not gone to New Jersey Shore this year to come back? And as an aside, I spoke to a motel owner in LBI. He said it's stronger than the storm first people live here. You need to let people know that we're open for business. How do you get people to come back? What are the priorities?
I didn't catch that last part. The hotel owner said what?
Stronger than the storm refers to people who live and work here. You need to reach out to the people who want to come to
Every hotel owner is every hotel owner is a junior ad man. I don't know. It seemed to me that Stronger in the Storm was talking about the people and the state. And if we're Stronger in the Storm, I would assume it's okay to come here. If he's got a better ad concept, tell him to feel free to send it, okay? But the fact is that we have gotten a lot of people. You're sitting here listening to the mayor of Long Branch right now. I know it doesn't fit with the story that you've working on, but you've got a guy here telling you that he's got the best summer he's ever had. Now, do you think that happened without Stronger Than the Storm? I don't. And the fact is that we're going to continue to work in the same way. We may decide to do more advertising this winter when people start to make their plans for next summer. We didn't have the opportunity to do that this year until May because the federal funds were so delayed in getting here. I would have loved to start advertising back in February, but the Congress didn't pass the bill until mid-January. So we're certainly going to go back and talk to the federal government about advertising again this January, February, March, the first quarter. We'll see if we get approval to do that. And we're just going to continue to work also with our own Division of Tourism under the Lieutenant Governor's guidance to be able to spend money to work with the county tourism boards as well. And so, again, I always said this was going to be at least a 2-year process. But if you talk to most of those business owners, they didn't even think they were going to be open this summer, back in November or December. And so I feel good about where we are. It's not perfect, but who expected it to be? We got hit with the worst storm in the history of the state. And we're fortunate that we have been able to do what we've been able to do already. So there are always going to be junior critics around. You know, it's the way it goes. Everybody's got an opinion, and this is New Jersey, so everybody's got quite an opinion, and that's fine. And I'm happy to hear those opinions, but I'm the one in charge of making the decisions. I made these decisions, and I don't have any second thoughts about the decisions we made. We worked as hard as we could, and I think we've gotten a good result. And I think most people that I run into feel like we've done a very good job as well. Not perfect, but a very good job. Luke, I called on Luke. Right? You heard me call on Luke, right? Thank you. You're not Luke, right? No. Luke?
Yesterday at the microgrid press conference, I believe it was the Federal Energy Secretary was commenting at length, actually, about the need to focus on and mitigate potential effects from climate change. Now, I know you've said this is a discussion that you're not participating in at the moment, but I'm wondering, is there a risk that we and the feds may not be on the same page as far as mitigation is concerned if they're considering this a top priority in the area?
No, it doesn't. No, we're both considering it a top priority. It doesn't matter what your theory is for why there's more storms. It's undeniable that there have been more storms. And so we have to prepare for them. And that's what mitigation is, Luke. Mitigation isn't the discussion of why. It's the discussion of how to deal with the results. And that's what mitigation is, and that's what we're doing. And so, you know, all the things that we're doing, like the microgrid project we announced, the dune system is the single biggest mitigation project we have. Billions of dollars to protect our shoreline with a natural protection from a dune system to be able to get the job done if another storm comes in. So I think Secretary Donovan put it very well when he was here last week. He said it really matters little whether we have a difference of opinion as to the cause. We both agree that something's happening. And then we work together on how to mitigate against that damage going forward. So that's my point in all this. My point, the reason why I don't want to get in the argument about it is because to me as a governor, it's immaterial. You know, I'm going to be the one who has to deal with protecting and strengthening this state against future storms, whatever their cause. It doesn't matter to me what the cause is. What matters to me is protecting us against the result. And that's, I think, what the Secretary and I agreed on yesterday. We clearly disagreed on other things. But the fact that we disagree really doesn't matter because we're still both committed to the mitigation. We both believe it needs to be done. I'm not arguing we shouldn't do dunes. I'm not arguing we shouldn't do resiliency projects on our electrical grid. In fact, I'm participating fully in those things. We just happen to have a fundamental disagreement as to the cause of the storms. And that's really the difference. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have the crystal ball yet, no, about 2014, I don't know. We're not yet through the summer of 2013, so I'd like to get through the summer of 2013. We'll know a lot more about 14 after we get the final numbers on 13. Compare it to previous years, see where we were weaker, where we were better, and then decide how we have to target our efforts to make 2014 a better year. I think 2014 will be a better year just naturally, because a lot of people will begin to assume and hear that we are back up and running and ready to receive customers, ready to receive tourists. You know, I don't certainly have any insight into that yet until I see what the final results are 13. Yes, ma'am? Okay, sorry.
Speaking of the shore, are you aware of the Liberty natural gas application to build a deepwater port on the coast and what's your opinion on it?
Well, I vetoed that once already. They're coming back again now. You know, I have to take my time to look at what changes have been made to the application to see whether I'll change my view, but I think it was either 2 or 3. As governor, I used my veto authority to veto the Liberty natural gas off the coast. I'm very concerned about making sure that we protect our coastline. And I want to make sure that any steps I take as governor, while they can be in the economic interest of the state, I just talked about a $40 billion industry that's headquartered on our coast. I want to make sure that we protect our coastline from any kind of environmental damage. So I'm skeptical, but I need to keep an open mind to look at what's changed about the application. And when all of it's complete, then I'll make a decision. But I remind you that I made a decision 3 years ago that I felt pretty strongly about, which was to veto having that off coast. Okay. Yes, ma'am?
Do you have any updated about the
Sports gambling? Yeah, well, on sports... Well, there's no progress on slot machines to Monmouth Park. No, I made a commitment to Atlantic City that casino gaming will exist only in Atlantic City for 5 years, starting 2.5 years ago. And that means we have 2.5 years to go to try to give Atlantic City every opportunity to get back on its feet and begin to do well. At the end of that 5-year period, I think all of us in leadership in the state have an obligation to examine what's in the best interest of the whole state. But we've invested billions of dollars, both as a state and in private industry folks, in Atlantic City. We need to give them a full chance to succeed. If it turns out that they can succeed, that's going to be a great story for all of New Jersey. If it turns out they can't, then I think we're all going to have to engage in an analysis of whether it makes sense to have casino gaming in other parts of the state. Monmouth Park would be one of those places. But I would not expect any type of discussion on that for 2.5 years. Other members of the press with questions? Marianne?
A couple of weeks ago, Senator Menendez, when he met with Secretary Donovan, he said he brought forward the complaints from homeowners that money wasn't getting out fast enough, and that Secretary Donovan said to him that the state staff was a little overwhelmed after having to set up the whole program. Are you satisfied with how fast the money's been getting out, or would you make any changes with this next round that's coming up?
The reason the money's not getting out fast enough is because the federal government took so much time in getting it to us. I mean, that's the fact. I mean, we couldn't do anything to get even the mechanisms in place until they funded it. We can't set up these mechanisms on our own dime. They had to be paid for by the federal government because it was their requirements. So am I satisfied? I'm never satisfied, Marianne. I live my life unsatisfied. I'm not satisfied. I wish money was getting out faster, but what I do know is that we're working as hard as we can to get the money out. I do know that now nearly 7,000 people have closed on their $10,000 grants. I do know that we're in the midst of processing. I think we're now through a third of the $150,000 grants. I know that the $50,000 grants to business, that we're nearing 1,000 of those being distributed at this point. And that we're working very hard on the business side on loans up to $5 million where businesses don't have to pay anything, principal or interest, for 2 years in order to really give them the time they need to get back on their feet. And so I think it's working pretty well. It can always work better, and we're learning things every day. And we're making minor adjustments and tweaks every day. But I'm never satisfied. I have a Sandy meeting every week with my senior staff working on Sandy, and you could ask anybody in that room. They never walk away feeling like I go, hey, great job, don't worry about it, put your feet up. It's constant push, and we're talking about a lot of money, billions of dollars. We want to make sure also that we spend it responsibly. I don't want it wasted, and I don't want fraudsters stealing it from people who really need it. So you always have to find that balance between the right number of filters. Remember, the legislature passed how many bills demanding oversight? All those oversight steps take time. For the comptroller's office and the treasurer's office. So, there's a bunch of competing interests here. Am I satisfied? No, not completely. But what I am satisfied with is the effort. I think the effort has been really outstanding. And I think, people, listen, it's kind of like when I talked about during the storm, folks, when I would tell people another 100,000 homes had their electricity. And for the people in those 100,000 homes, they were thrilled. And for the people that have their electricity back, they're like, who gives a damn about those 100,000 homes? I want the lights on in my house, right? You don't ever care about how well it's going until you get your lights back on, till you get your check, till you're back in your home. And I understand that emotion completely. So we're just going to keep working until everybody gets it done, and we're going to work as hard as we can. And I think it's a fair statement to say that, if the federal government had moved more quickly, and by that I mean the Congress, and moved more quickly to get us the money, a lot more people would have their money today.
You had said earlier that not one beach closure this summer due to unclean water.
Correct.
There were some closures in Cedar, Spring Lake, Lake Pond. Could you just clarify what you mean by that?
Yeah, I'll let Bob answer.
Yeah. There were several precautionary closings that we closed the beach because of heavy rains in certain areas. We tested the water right after those rains. They all came back negative. So that's what we define as. But every beach was open, and no beach was closed at all because of water quality issues.
On a follow-up on that real quick, what are any plans for the coastal lakes? I mean, many of them are, they had natural inlets that were reopened. They're still not fully closed.
Yeah, we're working on, we have a list of 16 coastal lakes that we prioritize, that we're going down, working with the towns, and those, we're either working through FEMA or the Department of Agriculture, NRCS money, to try to work through to clear out those lakes and improve those lakes overall. So we're working with the towns and the counties, and some of those the state owns and is responsible for. So we've got top priority on those.
For Commissioner Martin, okay.
But isn't it true that water quality testing is not done on a daily basis to exactly based on a monthly average? And is there any plans to increase water quality testing towards daily?
We test, in the summertime, we test once a week on each of those beaches. And which test at the beginning of every week. If something comes back that doesn't look right, we'll retest it immediately and then come back. But so every one of those tests have worked through, but we test every week.
David?
Governor, are you wearing a Princeton University shirt?
Yes.
Are you sending a signal perhaps that you are switching allegiances maybe from the University of Delaware, or is there something else going on?
No. What this signifies, David, is that this is where my money goes. My son is a sophomore at Princeton, and I have to send the tuition checks there. So I send the tuition money, and I get a shirt. So it's the most expensive damn shirt I've ever gotten in my life. But that's all that means, David, is that I'm wearing the shirt where my money goes. Although you'll notice that when I was put into the Little League Hall of Fame on Sunday, I was wearing a Rutgers shirt. So, you know, we'll just keep wearing New Jersey University shirts. And once you've been governor for nearly 4 years, believe me, you have plenty of them. People give them to you all the time. So I have plenty of golf shirts and T-shirts from every public university and private university in this state, and I try to rotate them through judiciously, David. But this one today I'm wearing because I'm getting ready to pay that tuition check probably next week. So it's close to my heart right now, David. All right, well, I want to thank the mayor, first and foremost, again. You know, there is no substitute in a crisis like this for leadership at the local level. It just isn't. You know, you need to know directly from your mayor what's happening, and he needs to be part of helping to solve the problems at every level. And I can tell you that Adam has been extraordinary in that regard, and I appreciate his leadership, and I appreciate his friendship. And as governor, you can't do a good job without a good cabinet. And I think you can see from the quality of the answers that Bob Martin gave today, how on top of the subject matter he is about the state's environment, and especially the cleanliness and safety of our beaches, that I'm very well served, and by extension, you're extraordinarily well served by the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection. He's doing a great job, and I'm very proud of him. So, Bob, thanks for being here. And I'm going to go, if you want to talk, I'm going to be walking around. I'm not going to go anywhere, but I'm only taking press questions at the moment, but as I'm walking around, I'll take questions from anybody. And for all the people here in Long Branch, thank you for welcoming everybody back to your town this summer. For those of you who are visitors who are here, thank you for coming to New Jersey. Thank you for coming to the Jersey Shore. We're going to continue to work really hard to make the rest of this week great. The good news is the weather looks like it's going to be good from here to Monday. So that's good news for all these businesses and good news for the state. So thank you all very much for coming. I appreciate it.